KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast. Well, this is my first FB live streaming podcast. And you're on with me. It's an extension of your RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability, get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. If you want to be a part of the show, give me a text. Text your name to 501-470-6386, and maybe you could be a part of the show. Oh, yeah, you can do it right here. It's the KeysDAN Show. I guess I should sing the theme. I came up with a stupid theme about a year ago when I started, all three, or I don't even know how many podcasts. I guess I have 3 podcasts now. The What Makes You Famous podcast, hashtag What Makes You Famous. The hashtag What Makes You Smarter podcast, hashtag What Makes You Smarter. And the KeysDAN Show. I've been trying to figure out what to do with this one for quite some time. All right, without any further ado, let me stare into the camera, into your eyes, and do the theme. The KeysDAN Show. It's the KeysDAN Show. I need a new theme for the KeysDAN Show. You might learn stuff. You might hear news. You never know what you're going to get on the KeysDAN Show. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. All right, my plan for today is to get text from the people. Text your name to 501-470-6386. I will give you a call. You'll be on the KeysDAN Show. You know, when I do my podcast, I do the What Makes You Famous podcasts, and I have been talking to people from all over the world. I think I'm about 170 episodes into it, at least the interview portion of the show, where I get to talk to people. And some people are pretty timid, pretty afraid to go and give a whole hour of their time. Or, I mean, I've had one of the podcasts that went 3 hours, 45 minutes. I thought that was pretty cool, you know. But let's see. Oh, I remember that one. Oh, yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to go 3 hours, 45 minutes. Most of the podcasts have been going about an hour to an hour and a half. And people pretty much will get, you know, for the most part, a pretty broad, basic idea of what their life story is. And I'm enjoying myself, just chit-chatting with people. I mean, everyone has a story. Everybody came from somewhere, from some place, and has had ups and downs along the way. It's the human experience, the human existence, and you are no exception. So if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you after this podcast to give me a call at 501-470-6386. And maybe you can be one of the What Makes You Famous podcast-ease. I have the Instagram and the Facebook and all the social media pretty much points to what makes you famous. But I think I was pretty instrumental. Hey, pat on the back for myself for putting that hashtag What Makes You Famous. It makes it real easy to find it out there. I even throw it up on YouTube if you feel like, watching. The only visual portion of it right now is a picture of whoever I interviewed, and then the audio as well. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, you can, but it's available out there, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that. Now, I did start the What Makes You Smarter podcast. I did that so I could learn things, because this head there's still so much room in there for knowledge. People, you got to know there's always time to learn things. And what I have been doing, if I don't have a particular topic to talk about, what I'll do is I'll do the 10 things you need to know today. And today I did a whole podcast on the What Makes You Smarter feed, hashtag What Makes You Smarter, of the 10 things you need to know today. But until I get texts from people that want to be on this live stream, my first FB live, turning it into an audio podcast as soon as it's done, that would be fun. I'll make it into an audio podcast afterwards. But for now, let's do the 10 things you need to know today. And this is Saturday, April 18th, 2020, as we're in the middle of this novel COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. So if you're listening to this anytime in the future, maybe 20, 30 years from now, the only source of education for this time period happens to be the KeysDAN show. Wow, how arrogant of me to think that I would be the only source of reference material for this particular moment in time and this date. All right, 10 things you need to know today for April 18th, 2020. And then let's see. Number one, Trump calls to liberate states from coronavirus restrictions. On Friday, Trump sent out repeated tweets calling to, quote, liberate, end quote, some states, seemingly in support of protesters demanding their governors reopen businesses and restart the economy amid the novel COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. Quote, liberate Michigan, end quote. Quote, liberate Minnesota, end quote. And quote, liberate Virginia and save your great Second Amendment. It is under siege, end quote. Trump said in 3 separate Friday tweets. The tweets came in just minutes after Fox News covered protest outside the Minnesota governor's office. Trump's tweets seem to support an immediate return to normalcy for those states, but in a recent Pew Research study shows 66% of Americans say they're afraid state governments will lift COVID-19 restrictions too soon, as opposed to 32% that worry they won't be lifted soon enough. Many states, however, have cautiously begun to look at ways to eventually reopen their economies. This is according to Donald Trump and the Washington Post. I don't know. What do you think about that? I mean, I've heard that states around this fine country of ours, the United States of America, some have been put on complete lockdown. And for the most part, it's because of population. If you have states that are more populous, more people are more chance to be, bumping into each other, like New York. I mean, I've never been to New York. I've never been that far up in these United States, but everything you see on TV, New Yorkers, especially right downtown towards Central Station, even in their subways, they're elbow to elbow. There's no chance of not being able to not going to bump into somebody when you're living in a big city like New York. And they've had some pandemic. They've had some virus, some COVID-19 problems, some scares. Now, my personal opinion, does it matter to anybody with my limited amount of medical knowledge? Probably not. But I think it's a bad cold. I think it's the flu. I know people have lost their lives, but sadly, we are human, very fragile, and we lose our lives every day to many different things. If you look at the world clock, it just keeps on ticking. Babies are born, people die. Babies are born, people die. It just happens. I feel sad when people die. And I've heard now, I'm a fan of podcasts. I don't just like talking into microphones and forcing people to listen to me. Not that I'm forcing you. If you subscribe, you listen, you like it. Hey, whatever. But I listen to podcasts all the time. And the one podcast that sticks in my head recently, I think it might have been a Joe Rogan podcast. It was he was talking to an expert that was trying to extend the lives of people. He believes that it's just around the corner, just a few years away. We'll be able to extend the lives of the human from just the 100 years old. Most people have the chance to possibly live 100 years right about now, but he might be able to extend that to 200 and maybe 500 years, possibly be using stem cell research, which is pretty controversial to some people, but it could happen. He's looking at age as a disease. So if you can cure a disease such as COVID-19, you can cure age and possibly even reverse the process. I mean, wouldn't it be funny if we all became Benjamin Buttons and just started reversing? And then what would happen? I guess your mind could wander. How would that be if we were all reversing in time? Our ages were reversing. But yeah. Okay. All right. I digress. I'll probably do that throughout this podcast, this live FB stream that I'm doing. And people can call in. Yes, it's a call-in show. How about that? 501-470-6386. And you could be a part of it all. KeysDAN's first live stream on FB, on Facebook. And thank you to the people of Facebook for having this technology and allowing everyone to have a voice. And not just Facebook, but all social media. Everyone is becoming more equal. They're becoming, this world is becoming a smaller place. Everyone has a voice. There's no choice. I mean, there's no excuse for not putting your content out there, for putting your ideas out there. YouTube has, it has hundreds of hours every minute being uploaded constantly. It's amazing. But yeah, we're going through the 10 things you need to know today until I get a text from somebody who wants to be on the show, 501-470-6386. And you could be a part of the live stream. Your voice will get heard all over the planet and maybe beyond, because, we put our stuff out into space. The people on Space Station get to listen to FB Live and anything that we're listening to right now. All right. Well, that was number one. And then number two, health experts. COVID-19 testing must double or triple before economy can open. Now, that's the opinion of the health experts. The U.S. has hit a relative plateau of around 150,000 coronavirus tests per day. President Trump and Republicans are still pushing to restart economic activity as soon as possible. But experts say the U.S. needs to at least double or triple its testing capacity before that can happen. The number of tests are often limited to hospitalized patients, which have reported shortages in swabs and other supplies needed to conduct tests. As a result, only about 1% of the U.S. population has been tested. Ashish Jha, director of the Harvard Global Health Institute, said the U.S. needs to be performing 500,000 tests a day to consider reopening. Other experts say that numbers should be more like millions or tens of millions of tests each day. This is according to NBC News and Axios. Well, what do you think? Should everybody be tested for this? Is that going overboard? Look at my face. I think we're going overboard a little bit with the testing. I mean, if you have symptoms, hey, go see a doctor. Do it. Am I taking precautions? Yes, I'm taking precautions. I'm a hugger. I like hugging. Now, it's been years. I really haven't shaken hands too much because I meet so many people on the daily, whether it's at the karaoke shows or the video dance parties or at the weddings or anything. I don't really shake hands too much. I do a lot of fist bumping because all those hands, look, I was in the medical field for a while. I was an EMT paramedic and a firefighter for a little while. So, and I worked at a hospital down in Miami. So I learned that washing your hands is a good thing. Keeping yourself pretty clean is a good thing. People are germy, so it happens. I haven't really been a handshaker for a long, long time, but I'll fist bump and I'm a hugger. My goodness, it's probably hugging is worse than the handshaking, but who knows where those hands have been? You don't know where my hands have been. You don't know me. But then again, but handshaking, it means a lot to some people, but I haven't been much of a fan for a long time. So maybe I was right. After all, how about that? And covering your face with a face mask, I don't know. I don't think that that's going to work. I think the face masks that most people are wearing are made for doctors that, so the stuff that's coming out of the doctor's mouth doesn't go into your body while he's operating on you. It's not for that stuff to come back. And I've heard experts on both sides of the fence. So, one will say, is it really going to help you? No, it's probably not. It's probably going to hinder, especially if you wear that mask all day long. So it's going to hold whatever particulates have been circulating around you, and whether you go to the grocery store or the park or any place. If you go meet up with a couple of people to get yourself a new pair of shoes because you need them. Whatever was swirling around the air is going to stick to that mask, and your gloves for that matter. As a lot of people have been wearing these same masks all day long and sometimes several days in a row, and the same gloves all day long. I saw where a nurse had put some coloring on her gloves and then touched her phone, touched the doorknob, touched the wall, touched various things in the room, and showed that paint got everywhere because she didn't change her gloves. So you could see just by that test alone that you need to change your gloves if you're going to wear the gloves. You need to change your mask if you're going to wear the mask. And in my humble opinion, just save the masks for people in the health industry that really need them, that are going to put them to the proper use. When I worked at the hospital, I did from 97 to 2004. I worked at Baptist Hospital in Miami, and yeah, washing hands was a big deal, and making sure that you were clean before you met up with a patient was a big deal. And if there was a patient that had a chance of an airborne virus, yes, you wore a mask. You did, and you made sure that you were taken care of, protecting yourself using said mask. But you need to think about those people, and I got to give it up right now to the heroes, which are the health professionals. We're finding out right now in this particular time, in this particular moment, that the health officials could be the heroes, the doctors, the nurses, the techs in the hospitals, and even the police and the firemen. They're the heroes of the day. So whoever you find as a hero. And yes, I'm alluding to, sports being canceled because of this, because of large gatherings. Sports folks, while I do admire the strength and the feats of strength that sports athletes do, maybe they're not the heroes at this moment in time. You could look up to them. You could try to emulate them. Look, hey, it's good to be strong, and that's what's going to help to protect you in this time. But this also gives you perspective on who the real heroes are, the people that are taking care of us. So thank you, doctors. Thank you, nurses. Thank you, techs. And big ups to the teachers that are now changing their curriculums. The public school teachers, the private school teachers are now having to change their ideas as the kids are home from school. They're having to learn how to teach online in different ways and still try to make it interesting so the kids will actually learn something. So good on you, teachers out there. So yeah, new heroes. We're getting perspective on who the heroes are as we go through the 10 things you need to know today. And I'm still waiting on callers. If anybody wants to call, 501-470-6386, or, if there's no callers, no big deal. I'll just rattle off some stuff in your ears. I plan to make this into a podcast for the KeysDAN show. I've been doing podcasts for the What Makes You Famous and the What Makes You Smarter feeds for the podcast, but I haven't really figured out what to do with the KeysDAN show. Maybe I'll do this once a week and people can have some fun with me. A call-in show or a text-in show, and then I will call you back. 501-470-6386. Give me a text your name, and then we'll talk about whatever. Even if it's like 30 seconds or a minute. Just tell me if you're still open, if you're still coping, particularly the people that are still taking care of us. Big ups to the fast food workers that are still out there. I know I've had my share of Burger King and McDonald's and some Taco Bell, and even the family like Starbucks. So they're having some of that. But thanks for having the drive-throughs open, because you're taking care of us. Sometimes it's not there's not enough time to cook after a long day of work, and some people are still out there working on the streets. I know Arkansas has been pretty much open up. Maybe the lobbies are closed, of several restaurants, but they're still offering carry-out service and drive-through service. So even the mom and pop places around here are offering carry-out. And sometimes, you'll hear the owner of that restaurant went and drove a meal out to a family that bought their meal from them. And so I appreciate that. They're taking that extra step to make sure that we're fed and we're taken care of. So big ups not only to the corporations, but the small mom and pops out there. So eat local. There you go. All right. Number 3 on the 10 things you need to know today as we go through the 10 things. Now, I've already done this on What Makes You Smarter. If you follow that feed, I encourage you to do so. Give it a little subscribe. Maybe you like the sound of my voice and you put that in your podcast feed. And for those of you who don't know what a podcast is even, it's a little radio show that you listen to on your own time. Like you listen to your Netflix and you listen to your various things on your own time. You could also listen to a radio show on your own time. So what you do is you go to your favorite podcast feed, put a little search, whatever subject you're interested in, it's probably out there. Oh yeah. I mean, the subjects on my What Makes You Famous is you. Whatever story you come up with, you can tell your story any way you want. Now, if I find something, and me as the moderator, if I find something in your story that tickles my fancy, I figure somebody else is going to enjoy me digging into that a little bit, but I won't dig too deep. If you don't want to tell any part of your story, you don't have to. You really don't. We could just gloss right over that and put it right away and just keep on going. And then the What Makes You Smarter is for me to learn things. And when I'm learning things, might as well talk into a microphone. I do it. All right, party people. All right, let's see. Number 3, Trump announces $19 billion plan to help agriculture sector during pandemic. President Trump announced Friday that the United States Department of Agriculture will offer $16 billion in direct grants to farmers and ranchers who are struggling amid the novel COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. Additionally, the department will purchase $3 billion in fresh produce, dairy, and meat to distribute to food banks, community organizations, and charities. The money will come from the $2.2 trillion congressional coronavirus economic relief bill, as well as separate USDA funds. The payments, which are expected to go out at the end of May, will reportedly account for 85% of farmers and ranchers' losses between January 1st and April 15th. The plan also seeks to address disruptions in the supply chain by using commercial distributors like Cisco to package bulk products into pre-approved boxes of dairy, meat, and produce products. This is according to ABC News and The Hill. Now, this brings to mind, how about that stimulus check that we got, that $1,200 per person? Yes, you got $1,200 of the government's money. What money is the government's money? It's your money. How about that? And if you divide that by all the millions of people that pay taxes, that's about $18,000 per person, per taxpayer that's going to be paying back that stimulus package, that $2.2 trillion. Yeah, I don't think we're getting away scot-free. We got $1,200. Where does that other money go? Where does that 16 grand go? Where? 16,800, right? That's not going to you. That's going to corporations. That's going to people that are going to be stimulized by the stimulus package. So we're not getting very stimulated. I'm only getting stimulated because I'm piping mad. No, I'm not piping mad. Hey, look, they're trying to do something. The Congress feels, yes, we're out of work for a while. A lot of people are. They're stuck indoors. They don't want everybody applying for unemployment because they're not going to get it. And speaking of that, the rules are out the window. And let me start a riot right now. It used to be you had to get fired or furloughed to apply for unemployment. Well, guess what? If you quit your job because you just don't like it, you can apply for unemployment right now. It's the wild, wild west. I think I just started a stampede. That's very irresponsible reporting of me. But I'm no reporter. This is my spot. I can do what I want. But yeah, so that $1,200 stimulus check that you got individually, you're going to be paying that back almost 20-fold. How about that? It's going to cost you $18,000 between you and your kids and maybe your grandkids. So was it a good idea? There's ideas on both sides. Hey, at least you got that extra $1,200 to get you some food, to get you some rent as we get through this pandemic. People are going crazy. All right, let's continue as we go. Now, if you want to be a part of the show, I'm telling you, 501-470-6386. Just give me a text and I will call you and make you a part of this little podcast. You can be a part of it, a little part of it, a small part of it. How about that? Let's see. Number four. Hey, for all you stockbrokers out there, this might be promising for you. The stocks have been just ridiculous, up and down and up and down. And for those that really know how to work the stocks, they're probably making bank. Not us little guys. Not me. The people that know about the stock market, they go, oh, wow, it raised big. Let me go ahead and sell. Oh, look, it's low. Let me buy. All right, number 4. Stocks climb amid promising coronavirus drug trials. U.S. stocks surged on Friday amid reports of promising coronavirus drug trials and headway in some states beginning to reopen their economies. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 704 points by closing, while the S&P 500 jumped 2.7% and the NASDAQ Composite climbed 1.4%. On Thursday, a University of Chicago infectious disease specialist overseeing a clinical trial of the antiviral medicine remdesivir. I know I've been mispronouncing that over the last couple of weeks since I heard about it. Remdesivir on COVID-19 patients said nearly all patients are recovering quickly. While the trials are still in early stages, the initial results have been positive enough to inspire some optimism among health experts and subsequently investors. In addition to the science news, President Trump announced new federal guidelines for slowly reopening economic activity, and some states are working to return to normal quickly, though health experts advised against rushing the process. This is according to the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Once again, like I said, am I worried about getting coronavirus? Probably not. I'm relatively strong. Yes, I'm a fat guy. Yes, I take my heart pills. But for the most part, I'm walking around every day. I have a job that takes me outside, walking in the sunshine, in the air. And thankfully, I haven't been really sick in quite a few years. So I don't think I'm going to get it. But am I cautious about possibly giving it to others? Yeah, I am. I do stay away from folks. No hugs. I've already said that. And, no handshakes, fist bumps. I think the new thing is going to be, it's not even going to be handshakes. It's going to be a lot of finger guns. Yeah, that's coming back. Daps and finger guns. What's up? I was talking to a lady named Trish on the podcast, on the What Makes You Famous podcast, and she said, jazz hands. How you doing? I'm great. Hey, jazz hands. Sounds good to me. I mean, that's as good as anything else. So, we'll be distant from each other for a little while until this really, we get comfortable enough. But, and the other, 100 years ago, there was a flu pandemic. And I know it's a touchy subject when somebody has died that's close to you, that they claim to have coronavirus. And I say claim, we'll get to that in a second. Let me put a pin in that. 100 years ago, there was a flu pandemic, and thousands died from that. Hundreds of thousands of people died from the flu pandemic 100 years ago. And here it is, once again, as the As the population increases, nature finds a way. And the reason I put a pin in that claims, there is also reports of doctors. I'm not even going to say doctors, of hospitals, medical facilities that have been labeling deaths to the COVID-19 pandemic, and they're not actually of the COVID-19 pandemic. So yeah, I think people, and their reasoning for that, when they were confronted in one particular case, they said that this gentleman died of the COVID-19, and he did not die from the COVID-19. They were confronted, and they said, oh, that's so we can get more money. So there's people taking advantage of it monetarily. You knew that was going to happen. That's just the human experience. People are always going to take advantage of things, and sadly, that is the case. And I already mentioned that unemployment is anything goes now. So people are going to take advantage of that. They might quit a job that might still be viable and just go apply for unemployment and PlayStation. Go, just like the PlayStations behind me. They've quit their jobs, they're collecting unemployment, and they're playing PlayStation. There you go. The times we're living in. People are going to take advantage. I do believe that will happen, and probably has happened, so sadly. And if you still want to be a part of it, or if you don't want to be a part of it, that's fine too. I'm starting to sound like one of those NPR shows where nobody's calling in. Nobody's calling in. No big deal. I'll rattle off some stuff, some knowledge. The KeysDAN show. If you want to text in, it's 501-470-6386. And just text your name, and I will call you right back. And you can be a part of the show. How about that? How'd that be? All right. Number 5 of the 10 things you need to know today. Let's see. Number 5, nursing homes account for roughly a fifth of COVID-19 deaths in the U.S. More than a fifth of America's 31,600 coronavirus deaths have been linked to nursing homes, according to new analysis by the New York Times. Since the country's outbreak began in a nursing home outside of Seattle, some 6,900 deaths have occurred either in or in connection to such facilities, a number that is, quote, far higher than previously known, end quote. Quote, they're death pits, end quote, said former New York Lieutenant Governor Betsy McCarthy, who founded a nonprofit aimed at stopping hospital-acquired infections. The quote, these nursing homes are already overwhelmed. They're crowded and they're understaffed. One COVID positive patient, a nursing home produces, one COVID positive patient in a nursing home produces carnage. End quote. Man, that's kind of rough. Wow. That's a pretty rough quote, but that's how she feels. To date, more than 36,000 nursing home residents and employees are known to have contracted COVID-19. This is according to the New York Times. It's stay cautious, stay vigilant, all that. And nursing homes, if I was heading for a nursing home, I would be a little more cautious. If I had to drop something off at a nursing home, I would drop it off at the door and let the staff come out and take care of it and get it to the proper people. I could see that. I could see having more of a vigilance. The older you get, the less your immune system works. We try to exercise and eat right and stay healthy, but your immune system, your body, it breaks down over time. And so you'd have to protect the people in the old folks' homes. I don't even know how to say that. I get corrected every time I do it. The senior facility, assisted living facility, a senior center. I'm not sure what the PC term is. I'm not very PC, in case you haven't figured it out over the last little bit, chatting with me and listening to me rattle on. Let me sit up straight. Make my mom proud. Sit up straight, son. Hanging out here in the Radio What Studios, which may or may not be a room in my house. It's a room in my house. Okay, I let the cat out of the bag. But I got it all set up. It's a little podcast studio. Now I'm able to record my voice and take phone calls and rattle off things and record them and put them out to the world like I'm doing right now. Now on a Saturday afternoon, which is what today is, I'd be usually planning to go to an event, usually private events on Saturdays, weddings. Let's see, I think I even had a wedding scheduled for today, and it got moved, postponed. And I want to let people know that if they have events that are planned that can be postponed rather than canceled, please, especially if it's for your entertainers, if you hired a band out or a solo guitarist or a flugelhorn player to entertain your people at your restaurant, at your place of business, I encourage you not to cancel, but please postpone it. It gives people a little hope that they're going to have a job eventually down the line. It's really rough on artists that have put their faith in their creativity and themselves, that they can make money solely on their craft. Even actors and musicians, comedians, everyone's out of work. All the entertainment business is pretty much on hold. And if you could just please find it in yourself not to cancel, but to postpone at least until July, maybe July, August. It looks like we're going to be breaking out of this real soon. I mean, sooner than you think. And then hopefully we'll be laughing about this. I don't think we'll be laughing about this. I really don't think we'll be laughing about this. But we'll remember, hey, remember 2020? That year that we thought in 2019 was going to be clarity and 2020 vision, and it was going to be so great. And then a big pile of poop just headed our way called 2020. Things just keep happening. Why do these things keep happening? All right, some good news on the 10 things you need to know today as we record this. And like I said, if you want to be a part of it, text your name to 501-470-6386, or I'll just keep rattling on. No big deal. Good news. For those of you that know me, KeysDAN. I'm from the Florida Keys. I'm born in Miami, raised in South Florida in the Florida Keys, went to high school and college the first time. I say the first time, but it didn't stick in Broward County and in Fort Lauderdale, in the Fort Lauderdale area, Davie, Florida, to be more precise. I went to school there. So here's some news from my former hometown. Number 6. Some Florida beaches reopen amid pandemic. Now, this is not actually my Florida town. This is farther north, up in Jacksonville, if I'm not mistaken. Let me read on. Beaches and parks reopened in and around Jacksonville, Florida on Friday afternoon with the permission of Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican, amid the novel COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. People are supposed to continue to practice social distancing in the recreation areas, most of which will only be accessible between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. each day. Chairs, coolers, sunbathing towels, and blankets are not allowed, as exercise, not lounging, is meant to serve as the primary reason for people to head back to the beach. But that reportedly wasn't the case on Friday, when people, many without masks, were reportedly seen lounging on a crowded Jacksonville beach. Officials have said they aren't afraid to close the beaches again if people don't abide by the restrictions. This is according to CNN and CNBC. All right. I'm glad that the beaches are getting back open, but mostly it's for exercise. Now, I remember whenever I got hurt down in Florida, when I was in the Florida Keys or in Miami or even Fort Lauderdale, whenever I got hurt, I felt like the salt water and just being at the beach was very cleansing for me. So if I ever felt sick, I'd go to the beach and just feel better. Salt water is very therapeutic. Being near the ocean, watching the ocean breeze, even if you don't go in the water, it's therapeutic just being next to the water. But then going in the water is just that much better. I do miss, being in Central Arkansas, I do miss the ocean air, the ocean breeze, and getting pooped on from seagulls from time to time. Okay, maybe I don't miss that part, but I do miss the ocean, going into the ocean and just lashing around. And yeah, it used to make you feel good. You know, if you had any cuts and scrapes or anything, any bruises, I always felt like going in the ocean was very therapeutic, health wise, and cures all my ailments or a lot of my ailments. And sometimes when you're feeling blue, you just go look at the ocean. So I'm glad that the beaches are opening up, but once again, stay cautious. You know, just stay away from each other as you go to the beach. Hey, look what happened. As we were talking, magically appearing, I got some snacks. Yes, my loving wife. She brought me some snacks. I got eggs and hey, thanks, Clinton Stanley. I'll keep up the great work. I will. He's another podcaster. But she brought me some egg bites and a cinnamon roll. I guess, well, yeah, I already mentioned earlier that I'm very thankful that the Starbucks is open. But my wife being the homemaker that she is, she said, you know what? We could do this at home. We could do Starbucks here. So she made the little egg bites homemade. How about that? It's good. It's good. It's good to have somebody. It's good to be married. It's good to have some love in your life. I hope that you have it as well. But if you're feeling lonely and blue, hey, you can call me. I'm available. We don't even have to podcast about it, but it doesn't hurt. It gives me a little content, and it gives you a little release, and it gives you a little advertising for whatever you're doing. So there, yeah, be a part of the show. 501-470-6386. Just text me, and I will call you back. And you could be a part of the KeysDAN Show. The KeysDAN Show. I need a new theme for the KeysDAN Show. All right. Number 7 on the list of 10 things you need to know today as we go through, and you can listen to me ramble on about my thoughts. Because when I do the What Makes You Smarter podcast and I do the 10 things you need to know today, I do it very old school reporter-like. No editorial. It's all straightforward. Whatever the facts are, that's what I do. I emulate one of my heroes, Walter Cronkite. When he reported the news, it was the news. It was the facts as they came. And if the facts changed, he would report those facts as well. As time progresses, we learn new things, but you never knew on what side of the fence he was on, and whether he was Republican or Democrat. Nobody knew until he actually retired so many years later that he was a flag-waving Democrat. Nobody would have known. If you were listening to his newscast, you would have just thought, I don't know what side of the political spectrum he falls on. He turns out he was a Democrat, but that should not matter. I think we shouldn't be Democrats or Republicans. We should be right down the middle where most people live. How about that? Most people don't believe everything that a Democrat should believe or everything that a Republican should believe. They take a little bit from here and a little bit from there and try to live their lives right. Yeah. How novel is that? More novel than the COVID-19 coronavirus. There you go. You should live your life right. And, live and let live and take care of each other and that kind of thing, regardless of what party you believe in. It's that far right and far left that I think that's where it all goes haywire. Come on down the middle. That's where most of us are living. How about that? All right, number 7 on the 10 things you need to know today as we ramble on this thing. Let's see. Hong Kong police arrest at least 14 pro-democracy activists in raid. Police in Hong Kong arrested at least 14 pro-democracy activists Saturday in connection with the city's mass demonstrations throughout last year. Media tycoon Jimmy Lai and former legislators Martin Lee, Albert Ho, Lee Kwang Hung, and Ao Nok Hin were among those arrested. Lee is reportedly considered the founding father of Hong Kong's domestic movement and helped write the city's basic law when it returned to Chinese rule in 1997. Per Al Jazeera, the raids were the biggest crackdown on the movement since the anti-government protests began last June. Because of the novel COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, tensions between Beijing and Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement had eased slightly in recent months as the focus shifted to the virus. This is according to Al Jazeera and Deutsche Welle. We were talking about democracy and staying down the middle. Well, that's not cool either. Come on, China. Come on. Get with the program here. Come on, Hong Kong. Come on, live down the middle. Don't repress your citizens. Although, we only hear a small little bit of what goes on over there. I've never been to Hong Kong, so I only know about Hong Kong through movies and television and whatever I read, and Hong Kong Phooey, of course. Hong Kong Phooey. Yeah. Come on. Cartoons are cool. I said it there. Thank you, Hanna-Barbera. All right, party people. KeysDAN, the KeysDAN Show. I'm rattling things off into a camera. Never been on an FB Live. Give it a shot. See what happens. Nobody wants to text in. That's okay. I'll just talk to you. I'll just talk to nobody. Maybe I'll just leave this on my Facebook Live, and you could look at it at your own leisure, which is what a podcast is. It's you looking at it at your own leisure, listening to it on your own time. I listen to podcasts all day long. Love it. Get some information. Put some knowledge in my head. And now I'm putting knowledge in your head. If you're listening pretty soon, hey, this knowledge is timely. But if you're listening years into the future, well, then it's a history lesson of what happened today. Well, there you go. Number 8 on the 10 things you need to know today as we go through. Let's see. Oh, NASA announces May 27th launch for SpaceX's first launch carrying humans. Humans? Yes, humans. Veteran astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley have been scheduled to depart U.S. soil on May 27th, the first time that's happened in nearly a decade, NASA said in a Friday announcement. While American astronauts have made interstellar trips in the past 10 years, they haven't departed from Kennedy Space Center in Florida since NASA retired the Space Shuttle program in 2011. They typically rocket pool. Rocket pool, that's a great word. You carpool? Hey, I rocket pool. I think you one-up me. They typically rocket pool with Russian cosmonauts, paying around $83 million for a ride. Guess who's paying that bill, fellow taxpayers? Hurley was on the last U.S. shuttle mission. The mission will also be a first for Elon Musk's SpaceX. Its Falcon 9 rocket has ferried supplies to and from the International Space Station. But in May, its manned Dragon spacecraft will carry astronauts as well. This is according to Jim Bridenstine and The Week. Cool. Space, the final frontier. Man, I've just been watching Netflix, and I'll ask you, hey, what Netflix are you watching? Leave some comments on that. Maybe I need a new show. But I did catch the Moon on Netflix. Amazing documentary. And I'm watching all these Apollo missions as they're going up, and this is already 50 years ago as we speak. And I'm watching all these Apollo missions going up in the air, and I'm feeling it. I'm almost feeling it, like, the emotions are welling up. I'm even getting a little teary, thinking about these people. Now you imagine watching live as people are getting jettisoned into space with that kind of hope for what we're going to find out there. And a lot of different things have come from space exploration, not just moon rocks. I think the first thing that I learned that was pretty cool was we can make the perfect ball bearing in zero gravity. Is that important? Probably to somebody, to some engineer. They need a perfect ball bearing. But space, imagine, that. Have you ever thought about going to space? It's coming real soon. where it's just going to be pay a little bit of money and take a ride out into space. And it's already happening. People that are far richer than I have already taken trips to the outer atmosphere. That plane, what do they call it? The Vomit Comet, where I guess it's been featured in movies and music videos. Well, they'll take a big plane out to the edge of our atmosphere, and people can experience zero gravity, and they filmed it so we can watch it. I think that's pretty cool. I'd like to be in zero gravity at some point. That'd be kind of fun for me. What do you think? Come on. The 12-year-old nerd in me, and even the 51-year-old nerd in me says, yeah, I want to go to space. Make it safe for me. Thank you, Elon Musk, for being a genius. And I've heard many podcasts with him, Elon Musk, talking, and people have asked him, what do you think about being a genius? I mean, how does this affect you? And he can't turn it off. He thinks about things all the time. So maybe there is a downside to being a thinker, is you're always thinking. But good on you. Thank you for being a thinker if you're out there. Not just Elon Musk, but all the thinkers of the world, all the scientists that are helping us discover things and helping our lives be better. I thank you for that. Your thoughts and your actions are making the world better for your fellow man and woman and other. I guess we can put a pin in that one too. What is an other? A, B, C, D, Q. Oh my goodness. But yeah, those of you that know me, once again, I'm not a PC person. I see a he, it's a he. I see a she, it's a she. I'm not against, if you feel like you're a female and you're, born a man, if you want to call yourself a female, go ahead. But if I make a mistake and I call you a male, don't say I'm dead naming you. Please. It was my mistake. You looked like a man because you were born a man. But if you feel like being a female, hey, do it. All more power to you. That's all that pursuit of happiness that was written in the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. Yeah, you can do it. Be what you want. You want to be a sheep? Fine. You identify as a meat popsicle? Sure, no problem. I'm with you. But I'm a dude. I was born a dude. I'll probably die a dude, but I can never say never. Hey, it might happen. I might get it in my head that I want to be a mouse. How about that? I want to be a Windows mouse or a microphone. Microphones are pretty useful. Maybe I identify as a microphone. There you go. Small rant over. All right. I'm having a good time. I mean, just chit-chatting with myself for right now. But if you want to be a part of it, you can definitely text me at 501-470-6386 and be a part of the KeysDAN show. This is the first one. I wasn't expecting so many people to be here, but this won't be the last one. I think I'll be live from time to time and chit-chat. I committed on the event to a 3-hour block, but I don't think I'm going to go more than an hour or so. I mean, I've done 53 minutes at this point. So I think I might cut it a little bit shorter. But still, I got 10 things you need to know today. If you haven't listened to the What Makes You Smarter podcast, I encourage you to find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Smarter, and then the What Makes You Famous podcast, hashtag What Makes You Famous. You could hear people's stories, and maybe it'll help you as well. How about that? All right, number 9. Oh, more bad news for the nerd in me, for the geek in me. Number 9, Comic-Con canceled for the first time in its 50-year history. The San Diego Comic-Con was officially canceled on Friday for the first time ever. The convention had been scheduled to take place in July, but was scrapped amid the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. This decision was widely expected as more and more large gatherings are called off. But organizers, quote, hope to delay this decision in anticipation that COVID-19 concerns might lessen by summer, end quote, the announcement said. However, it became clearer that holding the event in July would not be safe, organizers said. This decision was announced after California Governor Gavin Newsom, Democrat, said earlier this week that, quote, the prospect of mass gatherings is negligible at best until we get to herd immunity and we get to a vaccine, end quote. This is according to Comic-Con and The Hill. Now, as an avid goer and employee of several Comic-Cons here in the Arkansas area, the first Comic-Con that I actually was employed at, it was the Comic-Con Way, and that was so much fun seeing these kids, and I'm saying kids, everybody who was dressed up and just having a good time, exploring their pop culture, their nerddom, their geekdom, whichever word you choose to identify yourself with. It was so much fun at the Faulkner County Library here in Central Arkansas, in Conway, Arkansas. I got to be a part of the first ever Comic-Con Way as the DJ, as the sound coordinator. I put up speakers all over the library and just watched so many happy faces pouring in, looking at comic books, and oh my goodness, it was so much fun. So much fun. They were just, I was dressed, I don't cosplay, but from what I've been told over the years is I'm an original cosplayer. I have the Dr. What character, and what I do is I put a lab coat on, my Radio What shirt of some kind, and maybe some crazy hair looking like Doc Brown from the Back to the Future movies. So I take my cues from a little bit from Doc Brown, a little bit from, and then, maybe some goggles that light up, or I'm into, and just watching all these people dressed in their favorite comic book characters and anime characters and all over pop culture, just having a good time at Comic-Con. I mean, and that was, I knew that Comic-Cons were around before that, and I had a collection of comic books, this high, definitely a big collection as I was growing up. Captain America's my favorite character, and then Thor and Spider-Man's in there, and the Hulk. And so, I mean, I'm DC and Marvel back and forth. Once again, that's another politically challenging controversy, if you will, is the Marvel versus DC versus independence. You got to be one or the other. I don't. I enjoy stuff on both sides of the aisle. I watched Star Wars back in 1977 in the movie theater. I was 8 years old or so when it came out, and I was just amazed. And even previous to that, watching Star Trek and reruns, it was, I've been hooked ever since. Yes, enjoy myself. And I've never been to the Comic-Con in San Diego. I've been to San Diego, but I just never been there during Comic-Con time, so I never got the chance to go there, or I haven't as of yet. I plan maybe one day, put it on my someday, put it on my bucket list, go to the Comic-Con in San Diego and see the big one. But I enjoy the ones here in Arkansas. And the cosplay community in Arkansas, the Comic-Con community in Arkansas is so tight. I've talked to so many of them, the cosplayers and people that sell comic books and such on this podcast, on the What Makes You Famous podcast. Look through that feed, and you could find, if you're here in Arkansas, you could find a lot of your chums, people that you've probably seen at different Comic-Cons here in Arkansas, right on that feed, and learn their stories. And I've had a blast chit-chatting with them. The most recent one was just a couple days ago. I talked to the Arkansas Deadpool, Jordan. Great guy, great story, and just so happy to talk to him. And the way that his costume has, over the years, has gotten better and better. People put so much effort into their cosplay. Now, some people, like Jordan and myself, will purchase their costumes and then maybe put little touches on them. Like me, I put my costume together out of items that I've found over the years and at different places. The doctor's coat, I found it at a Scrubs place. Oh, duh, of course. And then, the goggles, I ordered them online. And the big hair, found it at a costume shop. Just make your own costume, or you could buy it online. Maybe your favorite comic book character. You find something that you can afford, because that's another thing that I've learned about cosplayers is that it can be a very, very expensive endeavor being a cosplayer. If you could spend hundreds of dollars for a costume that looks like the movie or the TV show that you like, and you could spend an equal amount just making the costume yourself. Maybe you'll save a couple bucks if you make it yourself, but just the effort, the time, you have to account for that. What is your time worth? Instead of buying a costume that was already ready-made and fit to you, what was your time worth? If you get paid, it would be $10 an hour. How much time did it take for you to make that costume? But I appreciate it, and I'll look at that costume. When I go to a Comic-Con, the Heroes and Angels Comic-Con and the Cos Prom that I've been involved in, the Little Rock Comic-Con. There's so many cons here in Arkansas that I've had the privilege of going to. And then you see these people, that they've put so much effort and, time, money into making these costumes. And the feelings that they have, from talking to them, the feelings that they have are just, it impresses me to no end to see them in their costumes. And the kids will come up to them, and even it's not just the kids, people my age, people older than me, are going up to them saying, "Let me get a picture with you. That's amazing. You've done such a great job putting that costume together. I mean, you look just like a Pikachu would, or you look just like the Deadpool would, or the Captain America, or any other characters, the Superman." I've had a Superman on this podcast before, the Warnock. He's played Superman, and these guys, they actually work out to make themselves bigger and stronger, and it becomes a health issue too. Back in the day, you'd think that the nerd or the geek, oh, that's that little weak guy over there that's calling to get a doctor's note so he doesn't have to go to PE class. Well, some of these guys, they're playing Thor, and some of these gals that are playing the She-Hulk, they really get into it. And then the Wonder Woman, my goodness, they'll get into such great shape, so they fill out their costumes and really feel the part once they do it. So yeah, just Comic-Cons. I look forward to that. I look forward to going to a Comic-Con, even if I'm not working at the Comic-Con, just going, with my family, and just enjoying myself. I know my 14-year-old daughter, when I took her to the Comic-Con last time, she spent a lot of time in the game room with the gamers. She found her people, and she walked around the Comic-Con and saw lots of things that she liked. So it's a good way to have your family together and spend some time enjoying each other's company while you find stuff that you like. We're big Doctor Who fans, so we definitely, look at the Doctor Who stuff. I bought her a little Doctor Who bag, and she uses it. I love it. And, the Star Wars and all the fan culture, the Marvel movies. And, I haven't seen much of the DC movies because, I have the Disney app, and there haven't been a lot of the DC movies on the Netflix. A couple here and there. I guess we caught the Superman Returns and a few other movies on Netflix and Hulu and Amazon. But, having the Disney app, man, I've caught up with almost all of the Marvel movies, and we watched them in chronological order, starting with the Captain Marvel. That was pretty cool. Chronological, not as the movie came out, but chronological as the time reference. Well, no, I guess Captain America was the first one, because that one started back in the 40s. So that's the one that we saw first, was the first Avenger, Captain America, and then was the Captain Marvel movie, because that one started in the 90s. So yeah, watch that. See, there's stuff to do. As I talk about Comic-Con, that's what comes to mind is all the fandom that I've been involved in, and the fun that I have watching these shows. And we were just now see, we're watching Stargate, and we watched the Sherlock Holmes, and we just started watching Doctor Strange again because of the Sherlock Holmes. Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay, big Doctor Who fan. Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm going to put that out into the universe. Benedict Cumberbatch is my choice for the next Doctor. How about that? Okay, I said it. It's out there. So maybe it'll come to fruition. And I think my daughter and wife would agree with me that Benedict Cumberbatch should be a doctor. Yeah. That's where my mind goes when I hear that Comic-Con got canceled. See all this? This is podcasting. This is me meandering. Most of my other podcasts are so much more structured. It's me talking to people, or it's me reading various things to learn about things. So, yeah, podcasting. You can podcast about anything. If you have an idea about anything, if you have a viewpoint on anything, you can record it on your phone. And we all have podcast studios right there in our pocket, pretty much. First world problems, right? You got a phone that can take the place of what a Walkman, video recorder, audio recorder, so many different things. Oh yeah, and it's also a phone. That's right. You could actually make phone calls on that thing, that device that's in your hand. I still got the Samsung Galaxy 9, Note 9, and then like a week later, the Note 10 came out. Ugh, happens every time. I bought the Note 9, and the Note 10 came out the next day. So, oh well. There you go. All right. Well, I mean, I know that I haven't had the response that I thought I was going to get on this podcast, being the first one out there. And maybe I should have hosted on my regular webpage. I hosted it on the KeysDAN show webpage. So maybe if I hosted on my regular KeysDAN, my personal page, it might get more response. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it next week. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. But I know I have a lot of podcasts coming up. I'm talking to a lot of folks over the week. I know I have some Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I think maybe Thursday. So stay tuned for that in the What Makes You Famous podcast feed. Hashtag What Makes You Famous. Find that everywhere. All right. Well, I guess since we've been going through the 10 things you need to know today, I might as well go to number 10. All right. Number 10. It's some good news, sprinkled in with some bad news. You'll know what I mean when I finish reading it. Number 10, Ionescu goes number 1 overall in the WNBA draft. Yes, the New York Liberty selected University of Oregon star Sabrina Ionescu with the number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft, which was held virtually Friday during the novel COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. Ionescu had a prolific career for the Ducks, compiling an NCAA record 26 triple-doubles over her 4 years in Eugene. She's also the first player in men's or women's basketball to record more than 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists. Her teammate, Satu Sabali, was selected number 2 by the Dallas Wings. And here comes the sad part. The WNBA also paid tribute to Gianna Bryant, who died in January along with her father, Kobe, in a helicopter crash in California. The younger Bryant, who was 13, had dreams of playing in the WNBA, and she and 2 of her teammates, who were also killed in the crash, were selected as honorary draftees on Friday. This is according to ESPN and CBS Sports. That's another thing. I mentioned earlier that the heroes, the people that we look up to, the heroes, the sports stars, the movie stars, the music stars, they are important in their own way. The people need to be entertained. I mean, shoot, I'm an entertainer myself, and I've lost a lot of business due to this COVID-19 coronavirus. So, I put it up in the links. I have a PayPal. I have a Ko-Fi. I don't even know how to pronounce it. KO-FI link. If you want to throw some bucks at me, if you like what I'm doing, There's even a place to buy merchandise. You buy some merchandise, you get something, and I get $1. Hey, how about that? Buy a T-shirt or a coffee mug, and you could drink out of a Radio What T-shirt or a Radio What mug, or wear a little shirt with my face on it. Or underwear. I think there's some underwear out there with some various logos of mine. I don't know. Will that help you? Will that help you at all? It'll help me. Shoot, you can buy them. I appreciate that. Just look for the links. I put the links down here in the description of this particular Facebook Live. Well, all right. I've done over an hour on this Facebook Live. I mean, I had Clinton Stanley come through and say, keep up the great work. I appreciate that. That's always good to help each other out, to give each other words of wisdom, words of encouragement. I mean, I do it as often as I can. If I see something cool, I'm going to say something. I guess that's a New York thing to do. See something, say something. Except in this case, I'm not going to see something bad and say something bad. I'm going to see something good and say something good. I mean, if you've taken the extra time to put on a cool shirt, I'm going to say, cool shirt. If you're wearing some cool boots, hey, cool boots. If you say something nice or do something nice for somebody, I'm going to say, hey, thanks for doing something nice for somebody. I appreciate that. And I'm going to continue to do things for people. I mean, that's why, I originally started this podcast because I got lonely, or I got nostalgic for talking into microphones. I used to work on terrestrial radio for many years. And, I like talking into microphones. I do that on the weekends whenever I do the DJ thing. People seem to like what I'm doing because they keep hiring me back. Eventually, I'm going to get too old for this. 51 years old. Am I too old for this? Maybe some things. But I go to some school proms and various gatherings with younger folks, and they seem to like what I'm doing. So I guess I'm not too old for this. Well, there you go. I keep in touch with the kids, and just the fact that I said I keep in touch with the kids, it means I'm getting older. I'm starting to sound like my dad that I didn't know too well. Maybe my grandfather. How about that? My grandfather, who actually raised me a little bit. Yeah, or raised me a lot of bit. Let's put it that way. So to the people in my life that affected me as I was growing up, thank you. Thank you very much for helping me out, for helping become the person that I am today. And I'll keep doing this podcast, building people up, getting people's stories out there. I mean, the podcast, does it make me any money? No, not really. About a penny a listen, I think, is what it is right now. How about that? So if I get a bunch of listeners, hey, maybe I'll make a bunch of pennies. But that's not what it's for. It's for talking to people, having some real conversations with folks, and getting their stories out. If they feel like telling their stories, I encourage them to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. It's pretty easy. It's pretty simple to do. Well, that was, usually it takes about 15 minutes for me to do the 10 things you need to know today on the What Makes You Smarter podcast. But here I've gone over an hour. I think that's plenty for today. My first time doing an FB live, and I am set up with my Rodecaster here, and it has the ability to feed in phone calls. So if anybody wanted to call in or text in, and I would call them back, they could definitely do so. So if anybody listens to this later down the line, I may do it again, maybe next Saturday, 3 o'clock or so. Maybe this is too early. Maybe it's too early. Maybe people are doing things on their own. Maybe I should do it a little bit later. I think some of the musicians, they were asking when they should do their lives. And I do appreciate that. Whenever they do their Facebook lives or set up, their little podcast or viewcast studios, their cameras up and play some music for the people, makes me dance around, makes me happy to see them out there. And they put their little link. So I encourage you, if you see one of the artists, especially the local artists that that are just starting to break out into the biz? You see somebody on your Facebook feed that's playing guitar for you, or the aforementioned flugelhorn. Somebody wants to break out their flute and play for you, and they put a little link to their Venmo or their PayPal. Hey, if you feel like they're doing something cool and you got the means, throw a couple bucks their way. Do it. I know some of the artists here. I mean, everybody who's in the entertainment business pretty much is on hold right now. I know I mentioned that. So they're finding other ways, creativity, to get their creative juices flowing, whether it be writing or like I'm doing. Instead of doing a show today, instead of doing a wedding or a corporate party or bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, haven't done one of those in a while. I'm here talking on my FB Live. Yeah, giving some content, giving somebody something to look at. And if you're feeling lonely, you can give me a call. Absolutely. For sure. I'm your pal. It's KeysDAN, your old buddy, your old pal. All right, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it right now. I mean, that's it for this edition of the KeysDAN Show and the 10 things you need to know today and my thoughts on that, my editorializing. Like I said, I don't editorialize. I usually just give the facts as they're presented to me. But Saturday, April 18th, 2020, the 10 things you need to know today on my first Facebook Live. And you can, if you want to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, radiowhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.